When it comes to life, you give it meaning. And if you've read my story, which you can, link is on my channel, I've written down all the different things I've been through in life. And what did it lead to? Well, what was designed to break me actually awoke me. It woke me up to experiences I never ever imagined I'd have. And my journey has been more than the pain and suffering. What's it like working with the divine? Oh my goodness. I'd love to share with you the supernatural experiences I've had in my life. And it'll probably have you looking at life differently, to be honest. Because for me, it had me feeling like I was living in a movie or some sort of fantasy novel. See, my first ever experience I had with the non-physical was when I was 17 years old. And it was during a time where I didn't know if there was a higher power or not. I'd gone through a lot of things in my life that had me questioning my existence and hating life and wondering if God hated me, because I was raised religious. But I questioned a lot of things. And that day I asked, if there's a higher power, prove it. Not knowing that, I went on a bike ride. I was on my bike. I needed to clear my mind. And I was riding down our road. There was a truck behind me. It was far in the distance. I didn't think it was a big deal. I was continuously just pedaling on, and I was going to turn on right onto our road. And as I was about to turn, I heard a voice in my head. Ashlyn, turn now. And I felt a presence on my hand. And my bike handles, they jerked. And in the blink of an eye, that truck missed me by this much. I could have leaned over and kissed the tires. After that, I realized, okay, there's more to this life than what we're seeing. There is a higher power, and there's a reason I'm here. There would be more experiences that would have me believing in magic, have me believing in things that could not be explained by the logical mind. And sure enough, I went through an experience where something traumatic had happened. And now I was receiving my first tarot messages and channel messages on my TikTok. There I was. My life had just fallen apart completely. I had lost every single identity I'd ever had in my life. And the messages, it was like reading my life on and it was different readers too, and different channelers. It was different people from different walks of life. And the messages were all coming true. The signs I was seeing, the signs that were confirmation for the readings, and it was like reading a book of my life. It was surreal. I seriously was like, somebody pinch me, because I'm not sure. I'm just not sure about this. Am I dreaming? Wouldn't you be dreaming? Would you think you were dreaming? Yeah. Because I got a message and it said somebody was going to come back. And I was like, there's no way. It said in 3 days. I said, yeah, right. On the third day, I was sitting there eating my lunch I'd made. And all of a sudden, my phone vibrated. And I looked, and it was a name. A name that I never expected to hear from ever again. And I was like, hold the phone. Did that just happen? And I'd been receiving channel messages that they were thinking about me. People they say, oh, no one thinks about you. Well, my life was telling me otherwise. There was some proof there that obviously they hadn't forgotten me. Or the situation we'd gone through, there was things that I wasn't seeing. And the divine see and hear everything. That was just the beginning. Because then I received a message saying, there's someone in your life that is going to, when you get back, and because I was in the UK, and my ex-husband, he was in Germany. And we had decided to part because our relationship was not healthy anymore. Actually, I had told them, I had let them know our relationship wasn't healthy anymore, and it was best if we parted. Well, apparently they had other plans, because the divine was telling me, hey, just a heads up, because I was receiving messages saying, they are going to have a job for you. They are ready to invest in something you absolutely love, and they're going to do everything they can to convince you to stay. After receiving the text message from the person I didn't expect to hear from, and them telling me it would take 3 days, and then the third day, I wasn't skeptical anymore. And when I got back to Germany, sure enough, they had a job application for me for their work. They had a application for a modeling camp that was free. They knew that I loved that kind of thing. I loved posing for pictures, taking pictures, and they wanted to do that with me, because throughout our whole marriage, they'd wanted to do everything they wanted to do, and now they were making what I wanted to do priority, because they knew they were going to lose me. And sure enough, they were trying to convince me to stay. Of course, I was determined to leave. I was ready to get back to my boy, get back to the States, be closer to him. And I had received the message, you are moving. There is a tower coming. And when I say tower moment, because if you've had a reading before, if you've ever heard of the tarot, or if you've ever used tarot, there's the tower. And when you have a tower moment, it's your life crumbling. It is change. It is you moving from one reality to another, where your physical world is now a reflection of your new internal beliefs. And sure enough, I found myself in Colorado with someone that I considered a friend, two people I considered friends. And when you thought my supernatural life was supernatural then, in those moments, it was about to get even more. And that it was the third night there in that corner room in the basement. It was thundering and lightning, and I was like one of those little kids, when you're curled up under the bed and you don't dare put your foot out because you're afraid something will grab you, or if you pull your covers, or if you push your covers down, something will touch you, and you're just sweating profusely under those covers, just sweating because you don't want to move. And I was laying there, and there was a wind chime in the bedroom in the corner. And I was laying there, and all of a sudden that wind chime was in my mind, and I was going, oh dear God, if that thing goes off, I'm going to have an attack. Soon as that thought left my mind, ding, 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 I've never booked it out of a room so fast in my life. I had grabbed my pillow, my blanket, my stuffy, and I was gone. After that, that was my new normal. The potted plant in the other corner of the room, would just swing. the door would shut, and the lights flickered. That was my new life. That was something that not once when I was planning my life was that a part of my plan. I was also being told and encouraged by the different messages that meditation was important for me. And I had also booked my very first reading with a reader because I had received a message and it felt like it was for me. But they were teaching me discernment and to learn what was meant for me and which one was not. And let me tell you, there was one where I thought, this is not for me. Because they were saying, your data's gonna be compromised. And I went, not for me. Guess what? Going to the mailbox and going to the mailbox. Open that mailbox, pull out a letter. What's this? What's this? Open it up. My dad has been compromised. Am I dreaming? Literally, I looked at that thing and went, because I'd been told, and then people had popped back in. And now I'm getting an actual letter saying something had actually happened and impacted, well, someone had to send the letter, so they had seen my dad had been so it wasn't just me. And I got a year of identity protection from it. You could say I was in shock. I mean, when I was in Germany, before I'd left, you know how you have those moments where you wonder if the good you're putting out into the world is even making a difference? Well, in my case, I was receiving a message someone from my past was coming back into my life. And I was going, okay, what's going on here? Well, when I was going through my divorce, I had been sharing my journey, believing that I could help people by showing them if I could get through my messy, painful divorce and still look at life through the lens of there is good in the world, and I don't have to stay in this mindset of feeling like the end of the world, but looking for the light in the darkness. If I could do that, well, I'd seen how smiles could brighten someone's day. So maybe I could help others who were going through something similar to what I was going through by sharing my journey. And there was someone from back in like 2016 that I hadn't heard from in like years. This was like my Beachbody days when I was a Beachbody coach and they were on my team, and apparently they were still watching my account. See, this shows you that comments and likes, that doesn't always indicate people are watching. People are watching. And truth was revealed. See, there's always truth being revealed. Well, they told me that they, through watching my journey, had shown them they were in their own toxic relationship and gave them the courage to get out, to go through their own divorce. And they felt free. And they were thanking me for being such an inspiration, for sharing my journey, being vulnerable. And I was just sitting there because it was a message. It was a whole long message in my messenger, my Facebook messenger. And I was just like, whoa, because the channeled message I had received was somebody is going to come through and let you know what you've done for them in their life. I was like, you can't make this shit up. Those events, those things that happened just had me feeling like I was in La La Land. And everyone on the outside had no idea what was going on in my world. I tried explaining it, and I thought I was getting through to them, but it wasn't happening for them. It was happening in my world. But what happened was, when I was in Colorado, so after the whole, swinging plants and wind chimes going off at 2 in the morning, and oh, my little fun adventure with Moldavite. Woohoo! Buckle up, boys, Moldavites. It is people call it like a stone. They say that their life falls apart when they wear it. They're like, don't get Moldavite if you're not ready for your life to fall apart. The reason your life falls apart is because it's raising your frequency, and you no longer align with that old reality. Those frequencies, those lower vibrational frequencies. Anything that is low vibrational and you are this high frequency being, you are not aligned, and that Moldavite is expediting your manifestation process. I'm not joking. It's like expedite. And it's just like shoving you through the timelines until you align with the new frequency that you now embody thanks to that Moldavite. That's why things fall away. That's why your life falls apart and crumbles. That's a tower moment. Did somebody order the expedited tower moment? And I thought when I first got my Moldavite, because I didn't know what it was, I just had heard about it, and I'd also received guidance to get some, and I was like, alrighty, here we go. Now, I thought that you had to wear it for it to work. I put it under my pillow. Don't do what I did. I woke up dizzy. I could feel the energy around my head, and I was so dizzy. And I felt something touching my face, and I was just like, oh, I freaked the fuck out. I yanked that thing out and put it on a shelf across the room, and I was like, you stay there. Don't you dare come near, because that experience freaked me out. Well, while I was there, I also received a message about more people, about some event that was going to happen that was going to probably have me kind of, dumbfounded or in shock. That happened a lot in the beginning there, when I started, my consciousness expanded, and I started to recognize that there was more than the human experience. That I was eternal. I'm an eternal being having a human experience, meaning once you expand your consciousness to anything's possible, well, anything's possible, including the non-physical, and you pretty much merge your physical world with the non-physical. You've now brought them into your reality and are having experiences with both. Trust me, there are days where I feel human, and then there are days where I feel more energetic being. And I felt like I'd been transported to another planet when I was experiencing all this. There was a day where I was out there, I had my new tarot deck, and I was learning tarot, my own tarot. And I had gotten a Snapchat. Okay. It was my situationship. Dun dun dun. And he had been communicating with my ex-husband. Oh no! Yeah, no. And they apparently had also been interacting with my first ex-husband. It just kept getting better and better. And apparently my first ex, after I had told him some personal things, thinking, we're going to rebuild this trust, and I want to show him I want to build something, because we were married for almost 7 years, and I thought, why not try? Why not try to build something again? Even if it wasn't the same thing, we could still create something for our son. And I thought, I will be vulnerable with him, and I will share something that's important to me, that has been revealed to me. Because it had been revealed to me that my soul was a multidimensional being that was living lifetimes as different beings, including what's considered a starseed, a lyran, a feline lyran, a humanoid feline, cat, lion, whatever, on another planet in another dimension. And I shared this with them. And apparently they took it to the internet. And apparently my situationship and my second ex-husband both had seen it. And now my situationship was reaching out saying, I'm worried about you. Are you okay? There was a lot of things I wanted to say, but instead I told them it was pretty much none of your business and I'm just fine. And that revealed to me that apparently I had not been forgotten. And when you leave behind people who are desperate to keep you in their life because you bring something into their life, well, apparently energetically they don't let you go, and sometimes physically they won't let you go. And the divine was showing me that they were not happy I'd left them behind, and they were still watching my life. And I had no idea what was going on in theirs. But that's what the divine revealed to me, was those who are not happy with their own life, they'll continue to look in other people's lives. They'll continue to want to know all the details. The divine, they see and hear things. They hear the conversations that they're in the rooms I'm not in. Energetically, I can feel the intentions of the people. Energetically, I can feel the emotions towards me. And when energy is sent my way, I can feel what emotions and feelings are behind that energy as well. And of course, at that part of my journey, I was not at that level yet. They were just revealing to me that there were things going on. I laughed. Oh, I laughed really hard because I was doing everything I could to pick up the pieces and move forward, and obviously they were still holding on to the past, even though they were all the ones that had pushed me away. Well, after that, next thing I know, I'm getting a message from my tarot, the channel messages, the tarot readings, the different readers saying, you got a tower moment coming and you're moving. And I went, yeah, okay. It happened. I ended up moving unexpectedly, and the circumstances were out of my control. Ended up with extended family. Was there for a while until I got another message. Tower coming, you're moving. A few days later, circumstances out of my control. Ended up in a place. They said, it's not what it seems. Kept getting messages, don't get too cozy. Oh, great. I was finally in my hometown, finally able to physically see my boy again. And I was receiving the message from the divine. You are on your soul's highest path. And that's when I started to feel energy, was at this point in my journey. This point in my journey was, well, I'd always believed in ghosts and spirits, but I'd never had a experience besides the one when I was 17 where I felt the presence, where I was actually feeling touches. And that night when I had the Moldavite, of course, as well. But this was different. Now, when some energetic being came up and gave me a hug around the waist, my shirt would be hanging, and then all of a sudden it would go shoop, and I'd just watch as it, and I'd feel the cold. And I was like, I'm getting an energetic hug, or I'm getting a spiritual hug. Yeah, that was interesting. And then lights would flicker. That was normal. But what was fun was now I was having telepathic connections with my roommates. And one day, I was craving boba and pizza out of the blue. Boba and pizza? And I was thinking, well, my one roommate loves boba and pizza, and I kind of want to go get both because now it's on my brain. And I went to go to, I knocked on her door and said, hey, you want to go get boba and pizza? And she goes, that's strange. She's like, I was just thinking about whether I wanted to get pizza or boba. Ding, 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 ding. Well, now I'm recognizing there is divine guidance happening, and there are things happening that I cannot see, cannot explain, and it's my new normal. And then things started to happen even more. And they were telling me I would be moving. But this time, I was told which state. Because it was everywhere. It was in music, it was on stickers, it was on license plates, it was, people talked about it, movies, social media, California. I was like, how am I getting there? And they said, the how is not up to you, my dear. We are the ones in charge of that. You are on your soul's highest path. And boy, howdy. When you ask to be on your soul's highest path, you better know what you're asking for, because now you are on your soul's highest path. And your soul is not human. Your soul sees the bigger picture. And they are guiding you through experiences that were, well, they were designed for your blueprint, your soul's blueprint, before you were even born. And what looks crazy to the human? Nah, it's just a Tuesday for the soul. It's just an everyday Tuesday. As Maui would say, he's like, oh yeah, that's just a Tuesday for me. Whereas for everyone else, it's like, this is crazy. Welcome to my world. Welcome to Wonderland. Would you like some tea and cookies? And they were telling me California, and they said, well, it'll come in. It'll happen. Okay. Well, I had received a message that somebody was going to call me and they would be drunk. I kept getting that message and I was like, okay, which ex is this? It wasn't an ex. It was one of my cousins. And it wasn't through a phone number. It was through Facebook Messenger. And they were needing a safe space, someone to talk to. And they'd been watching my journey. Once again, people are watching. They were watching my journey, and the divine was telling me that they needed me, and I felt it too. And I gave them an ear and gave them the advice that I could. And then they ended up actually helping me. But my rent was late. And now my landlady was saying, your rent is late and you're gone. And I was getting ready to go to the women's shelter. When all of a sudden, I kept getting this message from the divine saying, hold up there, girlie. Things are happening. And sure enough, there was my supervisor received divine inspiration to ask me why I was late. She said that there was this feeling she was getting that she needed to ask me. And then she had me talk to the landlady, who gave me another month. Because the inspiration of the divine. It was a miracle, because I really thought I was leaving. And I'd also had been told, they kept telling me, you're going to get some money's coming in, and I didn't believe that until one day someone who'd been following me paid me $600 for tarot readings. They'd never had them before, but they were paying their kindness forward because someone had helped them. Remember, the energy you put out comes back? Yes. And I was like, whoa. Yeah, supernatural life. I had received clothes from my cousin, and they were all winter clothes. I I thought I was going to when I was going to California, I thought it was going to be fun, sun. No, it was in the middle of dead of winter in a rusty, moldy old RV in Citrus Heights, Sacramento. And it was freezing, and I was really regretting selling those coats because that was the divine giving me the resources I need for my journey. All those winter clothes, that divine inspiration from my cousin when I went to the party, feeling the need to give me all those bags of winter clothes and those winter coats, the really nice warm snowboarding coat. Yeah, that was the divine. When you receive something out of the blue and you're not sure what it's for, just know there's purpose behind it. There is. And, well, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was receiving names. And then I ended up connecting with somebody who was on my social. And we connected, and they had also received parts of my name. And we were seeing the same synchronicities, the same signs. I knew it was divinely guided. And I knew it was time to go because they said a tower moment was coming and I was moving. And they said to trust. Have trust. And even though I would be long distance from my son again. But I knew deep down that there was something calling me. I couldn't explain it. It had been something that had been there my whole life. And after being let down by the physical world, by people in my physical a few times, quite a bit, because I tried to reconnect with my family, and the divine said, I wouldn't bark up that tree. And I said, I'm going to try. And they didn't care if I became homeless or not. So that left me feeling very battered and bruised and hurt. But now there was these strangers that I was being guided towards, and this pull, this calling. And then the divine was also reassuring me everything with me and my child was protected. I was protected. I was divinely guided and protected. And they'd been showing me my whole journey. I was, because once again, they see things. And I came here for more than just the human experience. And I've known it's because throughout my life, I always felt this inner knowing I came here to do something really big. But I couldn't figure it out, and everything I tried never seemed like it fit. And I went to California, and sure enough, I learned about energy. I learned that when you connect with somebody intimately, for one, you share energy, and you also connect your energies, and you can feel each other's energy. You can also share your frequencies and the energy that they are in. So if they're in a low frequency, they can give you that. They can pass that on, share that with you. I also found out that it didn't matter if I had taken a plant teacher or not. If I was in the same space as the rest of the group, I was feeling the energy in the room. I was feeling, and I got a bit of the floaties. And I hadn't even taken anything, because for me, I didn't need to. The few times that I did it, I was able to raise my frequency really, really fast. And let me tell you, have energetically moving your frequency up rapidly is an interesting experience. Your whole body is just full of cold energy that is just rapidly moving through you, like at high speeds. And you get dizzy because because you are shifting so fast through these realities, because your frequency is just, because I was waking up. I was connecting back to my energetic self, and the divine was helping me from the non-physical. And when you take those plant teachers, because they help you to disconnect from your physical and connect to your energetic. And the first time that happened, I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified. I'd never experienced anything like that before, and my body was trembling from all the cold energy. But my boyfriend at the time, he was telling me, because he can communicate with the divine as well, and he was telling me they were giving me energetic upgrades. And for those of you that have gone through spiritual awakenings, those of you who are ascending, you know what I'm talking about. And the reason I had gone to California was because in Idaho, you don't have access to plant teachers. And going to California, I did. It was legal. And I was able to connect to my eternal self again. And after that, well, if you've had experiences where your crown will get buzzy. I had a lot of crown buzzing. I felt my crown. I started to feel more of the energetic touches, and I was very aware that there was energy in our world. I was very aware that there was different dimensions and things that the human mind could not even fathom. When I left California and I came back to Idaho, because they got me, because my ex was throwing me out, and I had gotten the message, a tower's coming, and I had had multiple. I'd ended up living with somebody who had gone to jail for 5 years, and they were also an awakened being since they were born, or they remembered, they were aware of their eternal self. And I lived with them because my ex had gotten hostile. He embodied what's called malignant narcissism, the worst of the worst, and he had multiple personality disorder. Why would the divine align me with that kind of energy? Why would I be aligned with people who would take advantage? Well, because we were meant to grow together and learn lessons from one another, soul contracts. I was divinely protected the whole time. And there was a day where he came in and he just intentionally just tore me down just because he wanted to. And I watched as he was swatting at the air, because energetically, there was something that was bugging him energetically, swarming him. I wouldn't be surprised if it was my ancestors, because they're very protective. Well, they said you're safe, and we're gonna get you back to Idaho. Because what happened is my friend with the van, because he was a mutual friend of ours, and I felt safe the entire time. I was not afraid. And actually, the way I was treated was even better than my own family had treated me. It was crazy to me. It had changed how my life, the way I saw life, had just changed completely. Things that were not what they seemed, not all that glittered was gold, and the things that seemed like the things you run away from or should fear became the things that actually I depended on, and the things that seemed like safety became the things that caused me to ruined my mental health, became the thing I ran from. It was like I was living in like a reverse world, an upside down world. And, well, they ended up aligning themselves with the internal energy of fear, and their past actually started to pop up, because when you embody the energy of the same cycles, of the same patterns and behavior, and you keep showing the universe, hey, I'm going to keep living like this, then it's going to align you with that. And he didn't know it, but when he was aligning himself with that fear of the past and putting his energy and focus into it, he was calling it in, and it was coming back. And he had an opportunity to let it go when it came back. and people from his past that were popping back up, and he was accepting it. And the universe was going, all right, so you're recreating the past. So he ended up back in jail, and I ended up back with my ex in the moldy old RV where I was dealing with mind games. And the reason he wanted to get rid of me is because I wouldn't give him my body. I wouldn't give him my energy anymore. And I pretty much had let him know that he couldn't fool me. He couldn't play me like everybody else. I was not a puppet. And what did this teach me? I learned how to stand up for myself during this part of my journey. I learned that even though I was facing, because he was going to throw me out on the street, even though I was facing the streets, I would not give him my body. I would not compromise my morals or my values. And then what happened is the universe, all the good that I put out, it came back. And then I ended up back here where more energy work happened. And I watched more miracles, and I started to embody the energy of abundance more and more, because I was able to relax. I was able to embody it internally, which meant that my external was a reflection. So I was being given everything I needed and more. And when I thought that I was going to be kicked out and I was freaking out, they had energetically been helping me. The divine had energetically been doing work. And I knew that because there were days where it felt like I had taken a plant teacher, but I hadn't taken anything for months. And I was detaching from my reality, from this physical existence. And what I didn't know is they were aligning me with a circumstance, with a manifestation that I had been manifesting when I was in that rusty, moldy old RV. And that night, when I thought, oh, this is it, I'm going to go to the shelter, I told one of my roommates, I said, oh, it would be so nice if our roommate if she would get married and I could have her room. Because the problem was, it wasn't that I didn't have the money this time. The problem was I didn't have proof of income coming in, and apartments wouldn't rent to me. So I had said that, not knowing. The next morning, my landlady came down and went, hey, now this is a strange thing, but last night your roommate received a call from her boyfriend, his brother, some sort of situation happened, and she was moving out. And my landlady was asking me, do you want her room? I said, yes, I do. I couldn't believe that had just happened. And since then, I have experienced, my newest developments. The energy in my crown has gotten more, I can feel it even more. I can shift, so I can sit down and meditate and detach from my mind and get into my body quickly. And I can move from a certain brain pattern and move down into, so I can align my mind with my heart, and I can physically feel my heart. I can feel the cold energy of the energetic center of the heart chakra. And when you align your mind and your heart, well, now you are manifesting a physical circumstance of the heart. It's something that you learn when you read Joe Dispenza's book about becoming supernatural, though I've always been supernatural, apparently. But how I actually learned how to connect with energy was I wanted to astral travel, and I was learning how to be present and still and learn how to become aware of my physical body, which led to me becoming aware of my energetic body even more. So now, what I can do, and what I have experienced is, had my guitar, the strings one night. I was meditating and they've strummed themselves. That was interesting. Just like the wind chime all over, but this time I was like, didn't give me this time. I one day thought, so I've been sending the intention I'm a conscious creator, and it's become my belief that I am a conscious creator and I'm a master manifester. When you become a conscious creator and you also are at certain frequencies, well, you can think of something that you need, and well, in my case, I know that I always receive what I need. Whenever my body's hungry, I receive food. Sure enough, one day I thought I need to buy honey, and I was going to get one of the small ones. A few days later, I'd been working on my frequency and I'd raised it. My landlady comes in with this big honking thing of honey and goes, "Here, I got you this. Oh, and also here's this cardigan. It doesn't fit me, but I think it would look good on you." And I needed a cardigan as well. Just like last week, I was thinking about how I needed some short sleeve shirts and I was gonna buy some. I went to this little library box around the corner, and guess what I got? Got this shirt and a few others. Exactly what I needed. Energy, it makes a difference in our world. It really, really does. And my third eye is open now, like even open now, whereas I see through illusion. I see things how they are and not how people want them to be. I've learned how to communicate with the divine, and I also have a 24/7 health coach with my higher self. They have physically blocked me from jobs, and when they say divine protection, they mean that protection from things that will delay what's actually aligned with your soul's highest path. And they see things. And there was a job that everyone was inspired to get pizza all of a sudden, and my interview didn't happen. Well, a few weeks later, the bridge that I would have walked straight to work went out, and I would have had to go all the way around, and it would have taken me 20 minutes extra. Recently, I was going to apply to some jobs because I needed rent. And, well, the job applications wouldn't open, or the website was gone. Next thing I know, my landlady's telling me that they are moving and selling the house. So it didn't matter if I had a job or if I could pay the rent. Circumstances were out of my control. I don't have a car. Do you see now how little control we have and how we do the circumstances? You cannot, you can't see ahead, but the divine do. And when you connect the two worlds and you bring them together, two worlds, one family, Tarzan, unifying, because when they say unity, they don't just mean unify as us, as just humans, like souls in human incarnations physically. They're meaning unity as in unifying with them as well, because they're a part of the team and they're helping us. Your past loved ones, ancestors, they want to work with you. And also unifying with Mother Gaia and looking at our animals and pets and children and just expressions of consciousness differently, treating each other differently. This life is so much more than you can even imagine. And there's so much magic. Perhaps today I have opened your mind and shown you what is possible. I don't know what's going to happen next in my journey. I've just been told to let go of control and to flow. So, I'm going to do... if I have to let go of more things, then I will. Because my worth is not attached to things. They've taught me on my journey how to let go of things, to let go of identities, to understand I am more than my human experience and it doesn't define me. And I'm being guided. I'm on my soul's highest path. And if that looks crazy to the human mind, so be it. But I've had some pretty wild experiences that a lot of people don't have. So in my book, I'm winning. I am abundant and rich and wealthy, and that's a big lesson they've been teaching me, is that your wealth and your riches and your money and your abundance is not determined by what's in your external world. It is, you create that internally, and then you attract that. If you've had to chase it, well, and you've manifested it from control, then there's some sort of condition that's attached to that wealth and riches and money. Whereas if you attract it from an inner knowing of, no matter what I have or own or how I show up in the world, I am a rich woman or man, I am wealthy, then you will attract in abundance that is emotionally fulfilling and will stick around. But of course, you got to work on your internal world to receive that abundance, receive that wealth, because you can consciously say, I am wealthy, I am rich, I am abundant, but until you clean out your subconscious and you change the beliefs, because you might have a limiting belief around money that you aren't even aware of. This is why emotions are powerful and potent, and shadow work is important, because then you are facing beliefs that limit you. And when you alchemize those beliefs and you change them and switch them out for empowering beliefs, and you learn how to receive, well, the universe wants to create an experience for you, and the divine want to see you happy and thriving. But it's about healing that receiving energy, which, if you've ever heard of the term divine feminine, it's an energy. It's the receiving energy. And a lot of people are working are healing it, because people are more in their masculine energy, where they're constantly taking action, constantly push. But the divine is teaching us to flow, to give, to receive, to give, to receive. Maybe this will do something for you in your life. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to share these experiences with you, because it's been a wild ride. It really has.